All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are talking about building a blueprint, but not for a house. It's for something way more important, self-leadership. You know, this idea that the most important person you'll ever lead is yourself. So let's really get into what that means.
You know, when you hear the word leadership, you probably think about managing a team, right? Or maybe running a company. But what if the real work, the most fundamental work, actually starts inside? What does it really mean to lead yourself, to grab the reins of your own life, your direction, your growth? That's the big question we're going to unpack right now.
Okay, first things first, we've got to lay the foundation. This first part is all about leading from within. We're going to break down what this whole self-leadership thing actually is and why, honestly, it's the starting point for pretty much everything else.
So, what are we really talking about here? Self-leadership. It's not just some fuzzy feeling of being in control. Nope. It's an actual, structured framework. Think of it like a system you can learn and use for your own personal development. And here's the kicker. It is the absolute foundation you need if you want to effectively lead anyone else. Your family, your community, your team at work, you name it.
And just like building a house, right? You can't start with the roof. It all, and I mean all of it, starts with a solid foundation, something strong that can support everything else you build on top.
Which brings us perfectly to our next section, the 4 foundational pillars. This is the bedrock we were just talking about. These are the absolute non-negotiables, the supports that hold up the entire structure of personal effectiveness.
And yet, there's a magic number here. It's 4. Just 4 pillars that, together, create this incredibly solid base for everything else.
So what are they? Here we go. Self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-management, and self-growth. Now, what's really important to get here is the order. This is not a random list you can just pick from, it's a process. Each one builds directly on the one that came before it. Let's break them down one by one.
Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, kicks off with self-discovery. I mean, think about it. You have to know what you're working with, right? This is where you get honest and ask the big questions. What do I really value? What are my natural strengths? And maybe the biggest one of all, what's my purpose? You just can't lead yourself if you don't even know who that self is.
Then, right on the heels of that comes self-acceptance. And wow, this one is so crucial. Because finding all that stuff out about yourself, it's kind of useless without acceptance. This is where you look at all of it, the good, the not so good, the parts you're proud of, and the parts you kind of wish were different, and you just acknowledge it, all of it, with no judgment. It's all about being real with yourself, not about being perfect.
All right, so once you know who you are and you've really accepted that reality, then you can move on to self-management. This is the game changer. This is where all that awareness turns into actual action. It's the day-to-day work of steering your own thoughts, handling your emotions, and making sure your actions are pointing you toward your goals. This is literally you getting in the driver's seat of your own life. And that brings us to the 4th and final pillar, self-growth. This is what keeps the whole thing from getting stale. It makes sure the structure doesn't just sit there, but that it's always evolving. It's about committing to being a lifelong learner, you know? Always looking for new skills, new ways of thinking, and actively trying to become a better version of yourself. This is the engine that drives all your progress forward.
Okay, so let's recap. Our foundation is poured, the 4 pillars are standing strong. Now, it's time to actually build the framework on top. This is the part you're going to live in and work with every single day.
So let's move on and see what that looks like. We're talking about the 8 core competencies. And here's a simple way to think about it. If the pillars are the what and the why, these competencies are the how. They are the actual, hands-on skills that make self-leadership real.
You got it. There are 8 of them. 8 key skills that sit right on top of our 4 pillars. And they're what turn this whole blueprint into something you can actually use every day.
And these competencies, well, they're the bridge. They're what provide that structured framework for taking everything you've built in your foundation and turning it into real, focused action out in the world. It's how you make it all happen.
Okay, so let's zoom out and put all these pieces together. In this final section, we're looking at your leadership blueprint. This is where we see the whole picture, how the pillars and the competencies snap together to create one really powerful model.
And here it is, all in one place. It's so clear when you see it like this, isn't it? On one side, you've got the foundation, those 4 pillars. That's all your deep internal work. And on the other side, you've got the actions, the competencies. Those are the practical skills that take that foundation and turn it into real-world results. See how they're not separate? It's one complete system, with each part supporting the other. So what's the bottom line? What's the actual difference this makes in your life? Well, without this kind of blueprint, life can feel pretty reactive, right? Unfocused, maybe even a little stagnant, like you're always just responding to whatever comes your way. But with self-leadership, everything shifts. You become proactive, you're driven by purpose, and you're always growing. You stop being a passenger and you become the architect of your own life.
And in the end, it really all boils down to this one powerful truth. Effective leadership of others begins with effective leadership of self. You just can't guide, inspire, or manage other people well if you haven't first learned how to do it for yourself. That inner work, it always comes first.
So, we're going to leave you with this thought. You have the blueprint now. It's right here. You've seen the foundation, you've seen the framework. So the only real question left is, where are you going to start building? Which part will you build first? The choice is all yours.